Brelshaza Hard is upon us, and today I'm bringing you a video that will guide you through all important differences and changes between normal and hard mode in all 6 gates. All of the key mechanics have changes and things that are done differently, but most of the normal patterns and attacks remain the same, they just hit harder. Gate 1 starts just like normal mode, where you go through phase 1 and phase 2 doing the same thing. And then at 85 bars mechanic, the boss will first initiate stagger check, and after that the save spots mechanic will begin, where you take ×3 and ×3 plus 1 positions. At 42 bars mechanic, the big difference is that after you counter the boss, you become silenced and you cannot counter again. So 6 different players will need to counter. While being silenced, your job is to intercept arrows that are being fired from random directions towards the boss. Gate 2 at 133 bars, the mechanic cannot be ignored in hard mode and needs to be passed by destroying all 3 pillars, otherwise it's a wipe. At 110 bars, the mechanic is exactly the same, except there is a chance that one player gets the golden debuff. That player simply just moves away from everyone and he doesn't even need to catch the orb. At 80 bars it's the same mechanic, but this time there are multiple black orbs with a mark that you need to clump up together by using basic attacks. There are also other smaller dark orbs around each position that are invincible and explode after completing the mechanic. At 45 bars, the only big difference is that the save spots spawn at random positions, and there is also one additional save spot, so 5 in total. For the player fighting Prokel, there are a few differences in some of the patterns. Important thing to note is that the knight spawns 2 times for the raid outside. First when Prokel player goes in at the start, and second at 45 bars, so make sure you kill it instantly. Red paralyzing stab at 40 bars or below will have Prokel, not the clones, dash 2 times instead of once. Use time stop if you cannot dodge it. During pizza, there is a dark purple circle on the outside that deals heavy damage if you go outside of it. During spear aim pattern, the key difference is that there will be more spears spawning. During 270 degree ground smash, Prokel can do additional smash that aims towards the player. If you cannot counter slashing combo, then Prokel will do either a cone attack that stuns and knocks, or inside outside circle that stuns and has no follow-up. Simply stay outside while moving in any direction if it's cone attack, otherwise jump towards the Prokel. Gate 3 at 145 bars mechanic is the same, except there will be additional meteor spawning after the second wave. At 100 bars before stagger begins, yellow meteors will drop, each having a plus shape explosion. Standing in the meteor will grant that player a stagger buff that can stack up. During stagger, the eye now cycles between snake and circle. Let classes with high stagger take yellow meteor buffs. At 42 bars, the mechanic is exactly the same, except there are continuous spawn of dream eyes, 2 at a time at random positions. Inanna is very much recommended here if you cannot deal with the dream eyes. At 0 bars the mechanic is the same, except there is a dream eye spawning in the mid at random, so Inanna is also recommended here. During feeding shapes mechanic, there will now be 4 shapes spawn instead of 2. 2 of them needs to be learned into the boss, while 2 needs to be kited away. If failed, you can still use a time stop right after the first explosion. Maze of Illusions will have 3 golden marks instead of 1, and failing to get all 3 to the save spot will charm few players, not all of them, so carry sleep bombs. Gate 4 follows the same HP and positions as in normal mode, except there are differences in all of the mechanics. For blue cube color change, there will be targeted red flames appearing right after the explosion, so make sure you group up and position them at the same spot. For the blue cube wipe mechanic, after staggering the cube, you must stay in the circle and dodge the red attack to receive a buff. This time you don't group up with other 2 players, instead one player will have the typing mechanic while the other will be frozen for all 4 groups of 2. For the yellow cube color change, there will be outside explosions and projectiles flying. Stay close to the boss and dodge the projectiles, as getting hit will spawn more. Right after that there will be blue line attack coming out of the cube that needs to be dodged, while simultaneously either yellow battlefield mechanic or exploding circles will appear. Dodge blue lines, otherwise the boss gets 1 stack and you become stunned. For yellow cube wipe mechanic, you need to block all the projectiles, otherwise if players inside the circle get hit, they get charmed. There is also an additional purple diamond that spawns projectile in between the two, so 3 in total. For red cube color change, after the second explosion, golden beads will appear all around the whole platform, and all of them need to be collected. One player can collect as many of them as they want. For red cube wipe mechanic, 2 big red circle attacks will appear right before staggering that needs to be dodged as they deal very high damage. When changing into star cube, 4 blue AoE circles will appear around the boss that deal high damage and stun, and red lines that need to be dodged. After you stagger the cube, golden tunnels will spawn that needs to be dodged, otherwise the boss gets healed. Before the star cube changes colors, those same blue AoE circles and red lines will appear again. During second and last star cube, the golden tunnels can spawn randomly during the stagger. In gate 5, shapes gets assigned randomly, indicating underneath your character. Party order does not matter here, and you will have to adapt and remember where each shape should be positioned. At 140 bars, right before you would take positions, boss will flash on the ground which positional pattern will be. If there is a cross-shaped pattern, then you are doing ×3 positions for shapes. And if there is a circle pattern, then you are doing ×3 + 1 positions. But there is more. Before placing the shapes at 140 bars, there will be Descaluda lasers aimed at the players 2 times, which needs to be dodged, otherwise you lose a stack. At 50 bars mechanic, before placing the shape, there will be falling meteors that drop 4 times on each player, which will also lose a stack if you get hit. After you have successfully done everything, you can proceed with doing the mechanic just like in normal mode when dropping correct meteors into their respective shapes for both 140 and 50 bars mechanic. Key differences during 110 bars mechanic is that there are 3 counters at top and 3 counters at bottom, which can be negated and ignored by using Inanna. After staggering both of the orbs and the boss, left party still does the same thing inside, while only having to deal with flying guided projectiles, which upon being hit will take 1 stack away, while the right side party will have non-guided projectiles that do the same. After exiting, the last phase of 110 bars mechanic is the same as in normal mode. 2 things to note is that during Tentacle's normal pattern, there is always going to be a yellow AoE that will petrify you, and during collecting shapes, there will be a continuous pattern of pink lines that will make you lose stacks if being hit. Gate 6 mechanics are exactly the same as in normal mode. Both of the Dreamworld memory mechanics are exactly the same, both of the tornado patterns are also the same, and Shandy mechanic also stays the same. The major difference is the meteor management. During first yellow meteor, the blue meteors are delayed, which means you will have to either memorize all the blue meteors after that or have a cheat sheet with all the patterns. On the screen I put the meteor management cheat sheet that will link in the description. It is recommended to have it open on a second monitor or your phone. It starts at around 188 bars, where first yellow meteor will go at 6 instead of 12, while other 7 blue meteors will be dropped on tiles shown on the image. The reason for that is that blue meteors are delayed and each player will have to move along those lines to put their blue meteor once it appears. After the first set of blue meteors, next pattern will have 2, then 3, then 4, and then back to 3 and 4 changing. If you follow the patterns on the cheat sheet, you won't have any issues managing them as long as you have optimal DPS at item level. If your DPS is higher, you will most likely skip few blue meteor patterns, so keep an eye on that. If you manage to do everything correctly, at around 7 bars you will be put into a new gimmick that is only hard mode exclusive. You will need 5 people pre-assigned for this mechanic. 4 people will select ×3 + 1 position, while 5th player will flex. Periodically there will be a flash from each ×3 + 1 positions and memorize where the first flash was. After the flashes, 4 people take their pre-assigned positions. Each position will have a meteor spawn, and the position with the first flash will have 2 meteors, so 5 in total. Flex player will always go to the position of the first flash. When meteors appear, they will either glow blue or red. Blue glow means you have to counter the meteor, red means you have to let it go through. When you counter blue meteor, after a few seconds, your character will shoot out a beam that needs to be aimed at the boss to damage the shield. The red glow meteors should not be attacked at all, even with a normal basic attack. There are 4 rounds of meteors in total, and there will always be 3 blue and 2 red glowing meteors. After 4th set of meteors, if you successfully remove the shield, you pass the mechanic, which is indicated by the view being zoomed out and orbs spawning. You need to take at least 1 orb to survive the wipe attack. If you fail to remove shield after 4th set of meteors, it is a wipe. After that, at 0 bars, boss TPs to the center and spawns a big orb that needs to be destroyed. Attacking the orb will spawn a lot of smaller orbs that you need to collect, which will give you a huge damage increase. You need to burst the big orb in few seconds, otherwise it is a wipe. After destroying the big orb, the raid is over. Hopefully this helps you clear Brelshaza Hard mode more efficiently. If you have any questions or concerns, or if I missed something important, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, consider subscribing, and if you are interested to watch more, click on the videos on your screen.